Hi everyone, welcome to another video. This is going to be my final video of the year, and it's going to be hopefully a nice one. ABBA, ranking the albums. So this one's dedicated to my friend Richard McCook, who I know is looking forward to it. So I tried to do this video last year at Christmas Eve and I totally ballsed it up. I just totally overthought it and went round the houses, all sorts of pitfalls. Doing a band like ABBA, they've got so many huge hits, well-loved songs. I think at the time I was maybe paying too much deference to the idea that there are these big, huge songs everybody knows and quite a lot of few people like. I was giving plaudits in my mind to songs that I thought I should give plaudits to, rather than the ones I genuinely liked, I think. So on this occasion I've gone back and I've tried to be honest with myself. So just to put things into context, ABBA is a band that I wouldn't describe myself as a big hardcore fan of them. When I was a kid, they were part of the musical landscape in which I was growing up. The first song that I heard by them was Money, 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 which is one of the first singles I ever got, and I absolutely loved that. But as time went on after that, they sort of receded for me a little bit, and they were kind of, they almost turned into musical wallpaper for a while. But then in the 90s, I shared a house with a guy, a good friend of mine, and we used to get absolutely wasted on a Saturday night, and we used to listen to ABBA Gold over and over and over again. And I had a real ABBA renaissance back then. But it's only in recent times, really, in the last maybe 5 years, that I've actually got hold of the studio albums and started to listen to them properly. So a quick word on my methodology for how I've done this. Last time I tried to do it, I was awarding points to songs. 3 points for love this song, 2 points for like this song, 1 point for don't like this song. It's too complicated. So what I've done this time, I've gone for a simple, straightforward yes or no. Do I like this song or not? Now this too has its drawbacks, because what you'll find is, what I found was, that the songs that I've given a like to, they are songs that I either just like or love. So they kind of roll together into songs I really, really love, and ones that I'm just like, yeah, I like this one. So there's a bit of difference there, it shades over. And by the same token, the songs that I've said are misses, you know, if you talk in terms of hits and misses, I've rolled over 2 different categories there. Songs that I genuinely don't like, and there's not that many with ABBA. There's very few songs I genuinely don't like. They're mixed together with songs that I kind of don't mind, but they're not particularly special to me. They're songs that I'm not that fussed about, really. You know what I mean? It's kind of, but there's real borderline cases, and I've gone round and round with these, you know, changing them from like to not like. What a nightmare. You know what these things are like. Anyway, 3 minutes in and we haven't started, so let us make a start on this video. So coming in at number 8, this is their 3rd album, and it is ABBA. So this one got, let me just quickly explain what I've done. I've just basically added up the likes, added up the not likes, got a percentage out of it, and then what I've done then, I've gone through and I've noted how many ABBA belters are on this particular album, and I've added that to the percentage score. So I've got a percentage score, and then I've added to it based on how many songs on that record I think are absolute belters. So say two ABBA belters on the record, the percentage point goes up by 2%. So this one came in originally at 45.45%, and then it went up to 47.45% following the addition of the extra points. So this one, I mean, it starts out really well, and the 2 ABBA belters on this are true ABBA belters. You've got Mamma Mia and you've got SOS, and you really can't argue with those at all. But the rest of the album for me really struggles to keep up. You've got songs like Hey Hey Helen and Tropical Loveland, which are okay, but they're such minor ditties really. They're not big ABBA tunes at all. I did give a like in the end to Bang a Boomerang, but I've got some doubts about that record. Any song that has dum de dum de dum dum dum, whatever it is in the chorus, I'm quite borderline with that one. I gave a like to I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do. It's quite Spectre-ish, that one. And I gave a like to So Long at the end, but I'm not going to go through and list all the tracks that I said I didn't like. I may put those in the video description, but anyway. So that came in at last, and kind of disappointing really. I do quite like the kind of quirkiness of the early ABBA, but you know, in the end it did slightly suffer a bit, I think, from just a big disparity between the big hits and the lesser known numbers on that one. Okay, so coming in then at number 7, this is probably more predictable in terms of an album which is usually ranked quite low down the list. This is Ring Ring, which is their first album. This one originally came in at 50%, and then there's one ABBA belter on it, which I'll get to in a minute. That gave a final score of 51%. So with Ring Ring, the ABBA belter that I identified was Another Town, Another Train, which is an absolute classic. I know Richard loves that one. And then there's a few songs on this record that I do like. I have reviewed this album actually in the past, and it is one I'm quite fond of. Ring Ring, I like. Disillusion. I Saw It in the Mirror is a song I really like, which is sung by Bjorn. And then Rock and Roll Band at the end is a track I really like. So, you know, not bad. It came out 6 out of 12, 50%, with the 1% extra for Another Town, Another Train, and that gave us the final total of, what did I say? 51%. Okay, so now this is the big surprise, number 6, and this is an example of where you think to yourself, how do I rank this album? Because there's a couple of songs on this that I really love, or one song in particular, and if you'd said to me this is going to be number 6 on your list before I embarked upon it, I would have been a bit surprised, but there you go. It is Super Trooper. Just with the basic point scoring system, it came out at 50% and then ended up being 52% thanks to the 2 ABBA belters. So the 2 ABBA belters were the first 2 tracks, Super Trooper itself, which is possibly my favourite ever ABBA song, although there are some other contenders for that, and The Winner Takes It All as well. Obviously, just 2 great classics. This record falls off a cliff for me about halfway through pretty much. I like On and On and On, I like Me and I, but then on side 2 there's a run of tracks that I'm really not that fond of. I'm not a big fan of ABBA's slow ballad type songs. I've got Happy New Year here as being one that I'm not too fond of. Our Last Summer, I don't know. I find them a little bit mawkish, and when they do all that warbling singing, it kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. I do prefer ABBA to be sort of upbeat and maybe a little bit dancey, and I like the real sort of heartfelt songs, but there are songs that fall in the middle for me, which are these kind of slow ones that are a bit sentimental. Lay All Your Love on Me is a single for this record. I got that one down as a like, but yeah, I mean, roughly half the songs I've got as likes on Super Trooper, so that did come as a surprise, and like I said, it gave us a final score of 52%. At number 5, and this is an album which did take me by surprise. I didn't think it would come quite so high up in the list, halfway up the list. 54.55%, and there was one ABBA belter on it, which then gave a score of 55.55%, and that is Waterloo. Which was their second album. I've identified 2 belters with this one. Waterloo itself, the single, which was the song which they won the Eurovision Song Contest with, of course. And actually, no, that's it. I did have Honey Honey as a belter, and then I changed my mind. I think it's a good song. I don't think it's a great ABBA song, but it is a good one. And then there's a bit of a mishmash with this, really. Sitting in the Palm Tree and King Kong Song, in the end I decided to go with not particularly keen on those. They're quite quirky, I suppose. Hasta Manana is one that I originally said I didn't like, then Richard had raved about it in a previous video, so I went back and listened to it again. I thought, okay, I'll give that one a like. It's kind of bordering on that sentimental ABBA thing, which I'm not too fond of. And then Susie Hang Around at the end I really like, which is got a bit of a Birds sound to it, a bit of a jingle jangle guitar on that one. So yeah, there we go, ABBA Waterloo. Like I said, that came in finally at 55.55%, and that was higher than I thought it was going to be. Right, number 4. This is where some people might be surprised. This is one that often tops people's lists. It's very well respected, very highly regarded, but it is an album I slightly struggle with a little bit. It actually tied with the album which I've got at number 3 on the list, but it ended up losing out to that one because the album which is number 3 had more belters on it. So coming in at number 4 we have The Visitors, which is their 8th album, and this one came in at 66.67% with the original ranking, and then it got bumped up to 67.67%. So I decided to say that The Visitors itself, the track, is an ABBA belter. Not entirely convinced by that, but I thought it'd be a shame not to give it at least one belter. This is a record which I think is very cohesive. It has a bit of a a mood to it. It feels more like an album maybe than some of their other records, and it has a maturity to it, and I think that's what people like about it. But for me, it kind of lacks a bit of immediacy. With ABBA, I like to have a few drinks and listen to ABBA. This album is very well crafted, but I sometimes struggle to connect with it. Having said that, there are quite a few likes. We've got When All Is Said and Done, Soldiers, I Let the Music Speak, which is a bit of a slow ballad. Not the kind of thing I usually love with ABBA, but I do think that's a very fine song. The single was One of Us, which I've given a like to, and Slipping Through My Fingers, and Like an Angel Passing Through My Room. So, most of the record was likes. It was 6 out of 9 in the end, so that's why it ended up being reasonably high on the list, but maybe not as high as some people would have it. Came in at number 4. Okay, so coming in at number 3, we have this album got 66.67% like the previous one. However, the added likes that ended up being awarded to it through the ABBA bangers ended up with a finished score of 69.67%, and this is ABBA, the album, their 5th record. So this one has got some great stuff on it. Eagle, the opening track, fantastic song. Take a Chance on Me, one of my favourite ABBA songs, brilliant. The Name of the Game, obviously. That's an example of an ABBA ballad which I think is incredibly heartfelt. I do like that one. And then at the end I've got I'm a Marionette as a like. I don't think that's a song which is particularly well loved by ABBA people, but I really like it. And I've also given a like to Hole in Your Soul as well, which is sung by Bjorn and is quite good fun. See Move On this record, which I've given a not like to. That's an example of ABBA's more maudlin side. I'm not often a fan of when they go a bit Celtic, but anyway, it's done pretty well. It's come in number 3 on the list, and 69.67%. It's quite a decent rating, that one. So we've got 2 albums left. Which way round are they going to come? In the end, there was actually no comparison between these two. So number 2 came in at 70%, but it ended up being awarded 3 points, 3 extra percentage points, thanks to the presence of 3 absolute belters. And it is Arrival, their 4th record. I mean, this one's got some absolute monster hits on it. Dancing Queen, which is totally overplayed, played out. One thing I did make a pact with myself on this video is that I was not going to penalise songs for being played out. I don't think that's fair, really. I don't ever need to hear Dancing Queen again, but I still love it. It's an ABBA classic. So Dancing Queen, Knowing Me, Knowing You, which is obviously absolutely immortal. Money, 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 which is the first ABBA song I ever had, and that is a contender for my favourite ABBA song of all time. So those big 3 songs, absolutely huge. And then I gave yeses to That's Me, Why Did It Have to Be Me, Tiger, which I think is a really inventive song, and then Arrival at the end, which I know is a big favourite of Richard. It's an instrumental track. It's not exactly what I want from ABBA, but it is very beautifully done. So there we go, 70% with the extra 3% for the bangers, and that gave us 73%. So the final winner, and this is one which it surprised me how separated it was from Super Trooper, because in my mind these 2 albums were quite close together. I guess they were consecutive records in the discography, but my favourite ABBA album at some distance is Voulezvous, their 6th record. This came in at 80%, but it got a grand total of 5 extra points, 5 extra percentage points, due to the presence of 5 absolute bangers. So this came out in 1978 at the height of the disco craze, and the bangers were as follows: As Good As New, Voulez-Vous, I Have a Dream, Angel Eyes, which I've always loved, and this one, despite the dodgy lyrics, I've always loved Does Your Mother Know? So 5 bangers, and then what's left is pretty much all good. The King Has Lost His Crown, I gave a like to. Lovers Live a Little Longer, got 1 too. In fact, the only 2 tracks that I didn't give yeses to were Chiquitita, which I think is a fine song in a way, but I don't know. I just find something about it I find a little bit annoying. So I passed over that one. And then Kisses of Fire at the end I think is a little bit anticlimactic. So, but anyway, 80%, 5% extra for the bangers, giving a grand total of 85%. Voulez-Vous, by some comfortable distance, my favourite ABBA album. So I hope you enjoyed that, everybody, and sorry for missing out the new ABBA record, but I just don't know it well enough, really, and maybe next year I will do I'll do a sequel to this video and try and slot it in after I've had a few more listens. So there we go, that is the ABBA rankings video. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy New Year, and I'll see you all in 2023. Take care. Bye-bye.